So the emphasis of this video is relating external humeral rotation to a few different things. So we're going to put external humeral rotation in context. This is really good if you're struggling with anything related to your shoulder. Obviously, anything related to arm pain or just needing more, pliability in the shoulders and arms. If any of this hurts, stop. Come in, visit us in the therapy room or in the movement training space, and we can work with you more specifically. So when we talk about external rotation of the humerus, first of all, when we say humerus, we just mean the upper arm bone, yeah? So from here to here. To externally rotate it just means simply to rotate it outward. It's a movement we all do, most of us do almost every day. So to begin experimenting with that movement, let's start with this sort of palms up position here with your elbows close to your sides, not just jammed into your sides, but close. And let's just experiment with straight humeral rotation. So if we bring the palms out as if you're saying, I have no money, this is externally rotating the humerus. So you can work along with us at home, work along with Callie doing this movement. And just notice what you notice in that external rotation. Going only so far as you feel like you have a comfortable range of motion. Don't push it. So now let's relate that movement to other things that you may not be aware of it being related to. And the purpose of that is to help seat the humerus in the glenohumeral fossa a little bit better, in the glenohumeral joint. In other words, doing this awareness work will help relate your arm bones to your shoulder really well, and it could make it feel sort of seated and stable. So the first thing I'd like to relate it to is supination. So when we talk about the hands, the movement in the hands, when the palms come up toward the ceiling like a soup bowl, they are supinating. When they go down toward the ground, we call that a pronation movement. So notice what's happening in your arms as you do this along with us at home. If we turn our palms down, our arm bones, our lower arm bones are also turning. And if we turn our palms up, they're turning up. So there's movement in the forearm as we put our palms down in pronation, and movement in our forearms as we turn our palms up in supination. So now let's relate that to external rotation of the humerus. So I'd like you to begin with your palms down in front of the belly button, and then rotate out and supinate your hands at the same time, and then bring it back to the middle, and then rotate out. The purpose in doing this is to teach your body that these movements are linked, or should be linked. So external humeral rotation is related to supination of the palm. And we're going to play with that in a quadruped position in just a second. So that's the first key takeaway. External humeral rotation is related to supination. The second thing we can relate external humeral rotation to is spinal extension, or thoracic spine extension. So I'd like you to do the same movement, beginning with your palms in front of your umbilicus, externally rotate the humerus, and then just think about your sternum being lifted toward the ceiling. And then come back and do that a few times along with Callie. Externally rotating the humerus, lifting the sternum up, and what we're not looking for is posteriorly tilting the rib cage. We want to be engaged in the abdomen and not letting the rib cage come up, but we are getting lifted in the sternum. Good, so let's add some breath to this, and then we're going to clean up this little piece in the thoracic spine again. So starting in this position, we're going to inhale as we externally rotate and lift the sternum, and then exhale as we bring everything back to the middle. So that's an inhale, and then an exhale, and an inhale, and then an exhale. Okay, now let's clean some things up with this. When you lift your sternum up toward the ceiling, we're also extending the thoracic spine. In other words, the thoracic spine is getting length in it. Really extending would be back here. That's not what we're looking for, right? So we're just getting length. And notice as Callie does this, because she's really good at it, she'll lift her sternum. You'll see this length appear in the thoracic spine, and she actually rotates her head down slightly. So it's sort of like a cog, right? So there's a little Monica Volkmer shout out right there. So if you want to learn more about this work, Monica Volkmer out of Canada does fantastic awareness work with biomechanics. You can find her on, I think, liberatedbody.com. Yeah. Okay, so one cog would be as the sternum comes up, the rib cage is not posteriorly tilting, but lifting, and there's a backward orientation, and her head is orienting this direction, right? So this direction, that direction. Watch that in Callie a couple times. So begin in this movement, and then on an inhale, externally rotate. Here's the rib cage and the head. And as a result of all of that, the spine is lengthened and extended, and there's a lot of breath in the upper chest. So do that along with us a couple times, beginning in this position with the awareness on the spinal extension and the breath. Good, and then back to center. So it's an inhale and an exhale. Keep working, and I'm going to explain a couple more things as you work. So key takeaways: the humerus, external rotation of the humerus is related to supination. External rotation of the humerus is related to inhale. External rotation of the humerus is related to spinal thoracic extension, thoracic spine extension. So there's three things you can think about with external rotation. Seating the humerus in that joint. Let's take this into a quadruped position. What do you think? Okay, so in a quadruped position, we can play around with this even more. So when you do this at home, you may want to watch first this part and then pause the video and practice on your own. But when you do this at home, I want you to find a neutral-ish spine. Don't get too tied up in what is neutral in this position. But little engagement in the abs, so a little bit of the belly button coming toward the spine. Knees directly under the hips. Let's bring your knees forward just a little bit more. And hands directly under the shoulders. If there's any pain in this position, nix it. We'll move on to the next exercise. But if you're comfortable enough, this is a good place to practice the external rotation. So let's just first talk about what we mean by external rotation of the humerus in the quadruped position. All we mean here is turn the elbow pits forward. So that would be externally rotating. Now let's relate the external rotation to the same things that we related to external humeral rotation in the seated position. So as you move back and forth in external and internal rotation, notice how the pressures in your hands change. So when we externally rotate, there's more pressure on the outside of the hand or the pinky into the mat or floor that you're working on. Do you feel that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So essentially that's a supination. Your hand can't fully supinate because it's pushing into the ground. So practice that at home at this point. So the first takeaway here is, again, external rotation of the humerus is related to supination. In a quadruped position, what's happening is the hands are rooting to the ground more on the outside of the hand. Okay, so now we said external rotation is also related to spinal extension and breath. So as we externally rotate, we can inhale and also get extended in the spine. So the spine is going to bend this way toward the ceiling, which is something the thoracic spine doesn't do well. It has a little bit of extension available to it. And then if we go the other direction, internal rotation, we can flex the spine, the thoracic spine. We're really working here. So we inhale, externally rotate, extend in the thoracic spine. And by the way, there's the little movement with the head. The head is staying in neutral, but where the emphasis is on this movement. Good. And then, yeah, the opposite. Good. So play around with that at home. Externally rotating. Notice where the pressure is in the hands. Internally rotate. And then bring the movement into the spine. So externally rotate, the spine extends, thoracic spine extends. Internally rotate, the thoracic spine flexes. And there's a little bit of emphasis on tucking the chin toward the chest. Externally rotate, that's an inhale and an exhale. And then an inhale, bringing air in. Got my breathing right? And then an exhale. Good. So just play with this at home. You can't really mess it up unless you're feeling pain. We're going now to relate external humeral rotation to a couple more things. Quick review. Do you remember what they're related to so far? We've related external rotation to what with the hands? Supination and the forearms. So external humeral rotation is related to supination. External humeral rotation is related to spinal extension, thoracic spine extension. We could relate external humeral rotation to bringing air in, since we're extending in the thoracic spine. External humeral rotation is also related to movement and walking. So we won't get in the weeds here with the walking mechanics, but when we walk, our hands swing, right, back and forth. And you can get that movement worked into your body at home if you'd like to. So if you're in a kneeling position, we're trying to stay in the camera shot, so we might put some walking video on this later, but you could get in a kneeling position or just stand and swing your arms. And notice that when your arm swings forward, it actually feels good and natural to get into a little external rotation. I'm exaggerating. And you can exaggerate at home too to help your humerus. This will lubricate the shoulder joint too, by the way, as you're doing this. So just get into this position or any walking position where you can experiment with external rotation. So then at one point, I want you to pause with one hand in front and notice that if we're exaggerating the movement, but this external rotation of the humerus is also related to the movement of giving or the movement of taking, right? So if you lack the ability to externally rotate the humerus, think about what that can affect in your gestures and in your gestures related to the rest of your life. So external humeral rotation is related to giving and taking. It's related to the swing forward of the hand and walking. So there's two more things that external humeral rotation is related to. Also think about how this is related to the heart. So we talked about external rotation lifting the sternum earlier. So what's happening as the sternum lifts? There's an opening that's happening in the chest. So the space where the heart lives is getting open. So we could say we become more open-hearted when we have more external rotation of the humerus available to us. So we just related external humeral rotation to three more things. The heart opening, right? Inhaling, opening. We related it to walking, the hands swinging in front, which, by the way, is also the gesture of giving or taking. So external humeral rotation is also related to the action of giving or taking. Yeah, so quick review. Can you remember everything that external humeral rotation is related to and everything that it can affect and be affected by. We said that it's related to supination. We said that it's related to spinal extension, thoracic spinal extension. We said that it's related to an inhale, because that's also part of that thoracic spine extension. Yeah. We also said that in walking it's related to the swing of the front arm. We also made the point that it's connected to the heart opening, right? So external humeral rotation is related to the heart. So those are some things that you can relate external humeral rotation to. And in the process of becoming aware of those things, you will seat the upper arm bone and the shoulder in a really stable and nice way. So we encourage you to play with this at home.